I mean, the story of the game was Kendall Hoffman. I mean, just unbelievable job pitching to the eighth, and I knew watching video was in there. I looked, man, nobody really has hit him really hard. And I loved our at-bats in the first. Kind of got excited, got over our front side, hit into a double play. Lukey stung it just right at him. And then even in the third, some really good at-bats, like Holt stays over and smashes one to center, another really loud out. So loved our at-bats there. And then, man, he settled in and he just executed a lot of early, weak contact, which is how you have an arm pitching into the eighth. It's one thing we talk about all the time. And so, credit him. He was outstanding today. I'd like to see more consistency in our at-bats. You look at the last 2 days, and we came out really good early. I mean, like hit runs in the first in a good spot. This team needed this game. For us to be as good as we're going to be, I've never coached a team that's good that's not comfortable playing from behind, and you don't want to be there, but you run off your bats and you're comfortable with it. So I thought that part was good. We needed that. We just weren't good enough in that spot today. And then I thought the fifth was really kind of where the game got away a little bit. Same thing happened to us really at Southern Miss on Tuesday night, where you're not taking anything away from them. Tough play. Holt to his backhand to lead off the inning. We just don't quite make the play. Steeler, I think, thought that ball was hit further than it was. Plays it and it ends up being a single but off the wall. And then credit them, man, they kept making pitches and we had a chance to get out of there with one run. You get a kind of a tailor-made double play ball with a bad runner and just takes a hop and ends up into right field. So those are plays. None of those are easy, but if you're going to beat a good team and finish a weekend the way you want, you got to make them. So really, credit Houston. They did a good job salvaging a tough weekend, man. Those guys in the ninth had two tough ones back-to-back and came out with really good headspace and got an unbelievable start from Hoffman, and that was really the story of the game.
Was there any way in which Hoffman was better than what you had expected? Anything he did better than you thought?
No, not really. I mean, it's what I saw on video. I mean, I saw 5 or 6 innings in every 4 or 5 innings, whatever it was, in every start, pitching into the fifth with 2 or 3 hits. Honestly, the walks early kind of surprised me a little bit, the walk and hit by pitch in the first. But, man, he just really commanded down to the glove side that little slider at a really high level. He commanded that. The heater was good enough. He honestly, as the game went, he threw less and less and less of those because he was commanding the secondary stuff at such a high level. Just not a lot of hittable stuff. And I think the lesson for us is, man, he can throw a really good 0-0 changeup. He can throw a really good 0-0 slider. But if it's down on the corners, we got to stay off him anyway. I thought we put too many balls in play early in counts on pitches he wanted us to move on, and you might still get out. You might still do that, but you might get him out of the game in the 6th instead of him pitching into the 8th if you do that, So nothing really different. I thought he just executed at a really high level, and he pitched really, really tough tonight.
That's a heck of a 1-2 punch, and they bring in Brian. It's 97, and that, with the 3,100 RPM slider.
Yeah.
That's just a tough kind of 1-2 punch there.
No, he's good. It sounds bad, but I was like, bringing anybody else. Bringing Nolan Ryan, I don't care. I'm tired of seeing that guy. Luke Vaughn stays over and smashes it, just hits it right at the right fielder. And it's kind of the story of the day for us is we were not consistent enough offensively, but there were some really good swings in there. Unfortunately, our good swings today were all outs. They made some good plays, played clean. Even in that last inning, man, you get the leadoff walk. Torres pulls the ball in the 6th. That is not an easy play. And their shortstop, Cox, does a great job knowing the runner, know he has time, stayed under control, made a good throw. Man, you throw that over his head, or you kick that ball, you hear the momentum swings, and here we go. So they just did a good job with that. But, yeah, man, Brian's got real stuff, real stuff. But man, I wanted anybody but Hoffman in the game at that point.
Was Upchurch's start just kind of a matter of a young guy still finding his way, how to navigate starts?
Yeah, and he just didn't command anything today besides the changeup. That's all he had today was the changeup. And normally it's big curveball on command for a strike. Slider can get really good chase with changeup whenever he wants, and there's enough on the heater at 95 to be good. And he was just kind of a one-pitch guy today with the changeup. And, ideally when you're working through an outing, kind of the same thing with Zane Adams. You don't want to have to lean heavily on the changeup in the 1st and 2nd. You're hoping you can get some outs, navigate it, get into the 4th or 5th, and then that changeup really comes into play, and that's what gets you into the 7th. But because he was just scuffling with command, you kind of had to go to it early. And he kept it at bay by doing that, But the best thing about Miles is he just doesn't flinch, He would tell you, he had a pretty rough out. He was not good today, and still – that was not a 15-0 game in the 4th. composure. That's why he's starting on the weekend for us. Is like there's going to be some bumps. There's going to be some things as he continues to grow and get better. But, man, the composure's there. The compete's there. He doesn't panic when he doesn't have it. He just figures out a way to get you out and did that for a long time. Like I said, if we were a little cleaner there you had 2 walks there in the third that ended up turning into some runs. But in the fifth, you're a little bit cleaner. You're in a 2-0, 2-1 game going into the middle of late innings, and that's kind of where you want to be.
LeBron had that double play where he fields the ball, stops on a dime, gets to the bag, throws to first on 1 foot. Like, at what point does that phase you still? Like, that he can just do stuff like that? Yeah. It's so casual.
I think the problem is like I just come to expect that, which is you just take it for granted how dynamic he is. There was a play a couple nights ago, might have been last night. All these days run together, but one of their lefties stung a ball. It's like a one hopper that kicked. He kind of drop steps, makes a play on it, takes the force, and he made it look like the most routine thing ever. And that is a play that's a big league play, So huge play for him right there to kind of get us out of that inning. But he is, man. He's a freak talent. He's a freak athlete. And sometimes you start to take that for granted. So you got to kind of pinch yourself and let you know like that's pretty special out there.
Yeah. Coach, you already told us, I think Friday night, you guys like coming here and the tournament. But speaking of players like that, what have you heard after this weekend of them being in this ballpark and this atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean we played pretty good here. It's just a unique atmosphere. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful park. The weather was awesome this weekend. I've told Nathan before, man, just first class and the accommodations and the service and the relationship. There's a reason that we come to these every year, and this is a really neat venue. And yeah, we played pretty darn good baseball here. And so guys love coming down here. I think we're in Round Rock. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, so maybe not. I don't think we're doing anything. We're somewhere next year. You can edit that out. But yeah, just love coming to these events, and like I said, it's first class all the way around against great competition, and it's an exhausting weekend. Preparing for 3 good teams in 3 days is a lot for my coaches. They put a lot of work into it. Now it's a quick turnaround for Jacksonville State on Tuesday, but man, it's an awesome event. We love being here.
You said you're kind of still searching to find what this team is coming into the weekend. Do you feel like you got a better idea of what this team is after this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think they showed a lot of toughness. I really do. You lose a game does not mean you weren't tough. You lose a game doesn't mean really anything. That's the beauty of baseball. And like the casual fan that doesn't know the sport will see a Houston team that was 6-4 coming in, that was 0-2 in the weekend, and be like, how do you lose that team? And it's the beauty of college baseball. Like, you have to play your best every single game because everybody's good. And I think the beauty of college athletics and the way it is now, and in the transfer portal era and the NIL era, there's talent everywhere. There's good players everywhere. And so you have to deserve to win every single game, and I've said it from the jump. Yes, like we showed a lot of toughness. I thought we showed a lot of resolve, some huge toughness last night, just making plays. Thought offensively we got into a little bit better groove this weekend. I think the confidence and the belief in our offense, those guys kind of started feeling it a little bit more this weekend, which was huge. That's not always easy to do when you're coming to a tournament like this with the arms you're going to face. It's not usually the weekend you're planning on leaving here, especially face a guy like Kleinschmidt last night. You're thinking we're going to leave here feeling good offensively. But I thought we did some things there, and I thought some guys got some good at bats, man. I think that we're starting to learn the flow of this lineup a little bit and who fits where and who's good at coming off the bench and who's not. So I think that was good. I think the final test out there for this group is what I said in kind of the opening statement. How comfortable are we going to be playing from behind? Like, I've coached a lot of teams that have been really good and done some things in the postseason. That's kind of a common trait of all of them is they don't press panic. They just keep running their bats off, and they're just comfortable playing from behind. And so that's kind of the last step that I want to see with this group. I didn't think they checked it in whatsoever. I thought tonight was a lot more about Kendall Hoffman than it was us. I thought he was outstanding. He deserved to win tonight with the way he threw the baseball.